All right, guys, welcome into another region preview for the March Madness 2023 tournament where I give out my overall tips, predictions, and really dissect and analyze and do a full colonoscopy on each of the regions. So now we're looking at the East, and of course, guys, we're looking at that 1 seed Purdue, and so obviously you're picking the 1 seed to beat the 16 seed, Texas Southern, Fairleigh Dickinson, whoever it is. Obviously we're picking Purdue there, but we're gonna come back to Purdue because I don't know if I want Purdue losing. Well, my original bracket, I do have Purdue losing in the second round, but there's about a 50-50 chance that not all 1 seeds make it to the Sweet 16. So they might, right? But to me, it's between Purdue and Kansas, which one is getting upset if there is an upset in the second round. And that brings us to this second game. And I think it's just a really bad job by the committee. Memphis should probably be on the 7 line. Florida Atlantic should probably be on the 7 line. Purdue just gets completely screwed no matter who they're facing. It's going to be a tough opponent. I am going with Memphis to beat FAU. And it's funny because yesterday I said before the brackets came out, if the run looked right, I would have FAU possibly into the Final Four as a Loyola Chicago Cinderella. I just think they got screwed. I mean, we were talking about FAU being an 8 seed before they dispatched of a good UAB team. And they end up a 9 seed. I have no clue. And then you've got teams like Missouri on the 7 line. It is shocking. Who's the 7? Oh, Michigan State's a solid team. Northwestern, to me, should be an 8, but that's another story. Either way, guys, I do have Memphis over FAU. We're playing Russian roulette with the 8v9s. If you want to go FAU, they're 31-3. I'm not gonna hate on you. I understand it, but I will take Memphis. They just beat Houston. I know Houston was missing Marcus Sasser. I kind of think we can take advantage of people devaluing Houston because Houston's going to be healthy by Thursday. They said it. They held him out as a precautionary, but still, that's a great win for Memphis over Houston. They're going to be motivated, and it's a pick-em. This game might go to overtime. It's a very close game. I have Memphis beating FAU. Duke and Oral Roberts. So, the reason I'm not picking Oral Roberts here, we saw a few years ago Oral Roberts as a 15 seed go to the Sweet 16. I just think it's too good to be true at 30-4 for them to do it again. And this is actually kind of a trendy pick. I'm seeing a lot of people starve off the upset and say, no, Duke is playing well. They won the ACC tournament. All the true freshmen are getting better. They're healthy now. So I've seen a lot of people pick Duke to actually beat Oral Roberts, even though Oral Roberts was thought to be this one sexy 12 seed. When it comes to the 12v5 games, traditionally, my recommendation is choose 1-12 over a 5 or 2, no more than 2. It's either 1 or 2. On my actual bracket yesterday, I have only 1, and it's Drake beating Miami. I have St. Mary's winning, Duke winning, and then surprisingly San Diego State in the region I just talked about, the South region, winning. But yeah, I think Duke does enough to starve off the upset against Oral Roberts. I understand Oral Roberts has won like 18 games in a row, but they had a semifinal game in the Summit League. I believe they only won 75-70 against maybe like St. Thomas of Minnesota, I want to say. So they've been showing some cracks. I'll stabilize and I'll go with Duke there. And then we do have Tennessee and Louisiana. So I know, there's been some things if they say, oh, take Louisiana on TV and stuff, a lot of people are going to take Louisiana. Probably some people being manipulated. Tennessee is they're very polarizing because the analytics love Tennessee as basically a top 5 team. They've simply lost just too many games in the second half of the year. But I will say in this 4v13 matchup, I'll take Tennessee. I'll roll with them to beat Louisiana. I do not think Louisiana is this crazy strong 13. I already have Kent State beating Indiana, so I don't want to go obsessive and crazy. And I do also think the start time does have an effect on this. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I am absolutely loving a 9:40 start time. I know people will automatically reference that Virginia UMBC game. It was so late. But guys, typically upsets happen at around the 3:30, 4 o'clock afternoon window. You get a game starting at 9:40. If you're a Tennessee fan, you have to love that. I know some of those people might be mad because it's starting late. Traditionally, upsets late at night do not happen. And I know the Kent State game is late at night, and that sucks for Kent State. They got screwed with that, but I still think Kent State wins that game. Next, we have Kentucky and Providence. I like Kentucky. You know, Providence is a team. I know they're talking about the whole revenge factor there for the transfer, Bryce Hopkins. But, guys, Kentucky is due for a deeper run. They're better than Providence. Providence, honestly, was on the bubble a little bit. They struggled so badly there towards the end of the year. Kentucky, no, they didn't win the SEC. You know, they got knocked out, I think, by Vanderbilt, which is not a great performance, but still, you've got a three-point shooter, you've got John Calipari, you've got Toshible. They're due for at least a Sweet 16 run after getting knocked out so early. That's kind of the reverse psychology I'm using there for Kentucky. Kansas State, Montana State. So this might be tempting for some people to go with Montana State. I'm just getting a real, it feels like Montana State is that 114 seed that gives up 110 points. Honestly, I'd say a bold prediction. I think Kansas State wins this game 101-79 or something. I think it's very high scoring, and I like Kansas State with their guard play to win and to hold off the upset. This bottom region is really chalky for me, guys, because Michigan State, USC, I like Michigan State. I like the guard play. I like Izzo and March. I will take Michigan State. It kind of scares me, though, because I love Marquette, and I'm starting to see this thing where everyone is picking Marquette to go deep. I had this vision 2 weeks ago that Marquette was going to be in the national championship, but it was like they were a 3 seed, and then they end up winning the Big East, and now they're this media darling that everyone's picking. Now it's getting too much. I'm getting too overwhelmed by everyone picking Marquette, and I'm starting to psych myself out, but I do have Marquette beating Vermont there. It's interesting, though. I believe Marquette is, in terms analytically, the lowest favored 2 seed out of all the 2 seeds. I think that's because Vermont is the best 15 seed, but I actually think Colgate is the best 15 seed. Either way, looking at the next round, this is for the Sweet 16, Purdue and Memphis. So this is really, to me, there's a decision you have to make in your bracket. Do you want to have Kansas losing to Arkansas in the second round? Or do you want to have Purdue losing to Memphis? Or do you want all the 1 seeds making the Sweet 16? That's also an option. But for me, I went with Memphis continuing their run. Purdue is a complete paper tiger. You are not going to want to pick Purdue in the Final Four, guys. They ran through a pretty weak Big Ten, and they still lost some games, and they've got one player, and it's a big center. Let's say he gets in foul trouble. It's going to be very hard for Purdue to win if that happens. So I'll take Memphis. They've shown the ability to really compete against top teams like Houston, and I will have them pulling off the 8v1 upset. And then we have Duke and Tennessee. I'm going Duke there to beat Tennessee. I just think it's a situation with Tennessee. It's just too inconsistent. I know they're really good analytically. I get that. But there is something with them where it's just they've lost 6 out of the last 12 games. I can't do it. I just can't. Then you've got Kentucky and Kansas State. I'm going to go with Kentucky here to beat Kansas State. I'm not high on Kansas State as a 3 seed. They have a lot of losses. I think they probably should be a 4. So I'll say Kentucky wins that. That'll probably be a toss-up game. And then Michigan State and Marquette. I'm scared, but I'm going Marquette. Izzo as a 7 seed is nuclear in the second round, but I will say Marquette. They're charging hard. I know they're a media darling right now. I'm picking them. I have to kind of roll with them at this point. It is what it is. I'm taking Marquette to advance there to the Sweet 16. And then this is for the Elite 8, so it's Memphis, Duke, and I believe I did pick Memphis here. Just looking at this game, this just feels like your typical March game, Memphis, Duke. I don't know. I feel pretty good that we could see a Memphis Duke type matchup there, with possibly Memphis beating Duke. Duke's had a nice run, but there is a part of me in the back of my head that's saying it's a little bit of a fake run because it's the ACC, and the ACC was really weak this year. Duke was pretty much known as a 6 or a 7 seed throughout the entire second half of the season, and the reason they're on the 5 line is because they won the ACC. And then Marquette and Kentucky, this is tough, man, for Marquette. You got to go through Izzo and Calipari, but I'm giving Marquette the win there to advance. And then I am having, in this Memphis-Marquette matchup, fun little matchup, higher scoring game. Give me Marquette. Memphis's Cinderella run ends at that point. But just looking at this bracket overall, when it comes to the Final Four, is there, strategy to picking a Cinderella? I would say if you're going to pick a Cinderella, a team I look at for this bracket is Memphis as the 8 seed. They would really be the team. Tennessee is just too inconsistent as a 5. I don't think Duke is good enough to string together that many wins. Kentucky, that's another Cinderella. Well, I mean, they're a 6 seed. I wouldn't call them a Cinderella, but that's a team I expect to do pretty well in the tournament. I like that matchup against Providence. Kansas State, I think, is a weak 3 seed. I'll pass on them. Michigan State, I think, is a very strong 7 seed, even with the bad loss to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. USC, kind of a paper tiger coming from the Pac-12. I really don't trust USC. I know they had a nice run with Evan Mobley a few years ago. And then Marquette, kind of the team that's vibing right now. We're all picking Marquette. It seems obvious to roll with Marquette after the huge win in the Big East. They beat a good UConn team, and then they dismantle a very good Xavier team, and they've been playing great basketball in the second half of the year, actually upping their defensive efficiency finally inside of the top 50. They've got a top 10 offense. We all know that. And then I do have Marquette over Memphis. So you're trying to battle, how many upsets do you pick? Do you have an 8 seed go far? What about a 2 seed? Things like that. But me personally, I'm going with Marquette. I think Memphis is going to be really good in this region. They're going to make some noise. I think Purdue disappoints due to their lack of overall team depth. And then I think Duke makes a little bit of noise. Tennessee disappoints because they're just the second half of the season. They've been so underwhelming, even with the great analytics. Kentucky has a solid performance. Kansas State underwhelms out of the Big 12. Michigan State does solid. And then Marquette is the team that makes it. Very chalky down here. I've got, the 6 seed beating the 11, the 3 over the 14, the 7 over the 10, the 2 over 15. If there is a part of the bracket to go chalk, I don't see an upset. I don't see Montana State winning. I don't see Providence winning. I know people are choosing Louisiana. I'm going to stay away from that. Even if Louisiana, let's say they win this game, I think they lose to Duke in the second round. Something like Montana State pulls off a crazy upset. I think they lose to Kentucky. USC, same thing with Marquette. So I think the higher seeds pretty much hold serve outside of this crazy, Memphis upset on Purdue. I can't really say horrible negative things about Purdue's analytics. They do have a solid defense. Normally they have a decently bad defense, but this year it's actually analytically pretty solid. But I do like Memphis. If you want to go FAU, certainly I would be very interested if FAU beats Memphis. That's a coin flip game. I'd be very interested in an FAU Cinderella run if they can beat number 1 Purdue, and I think that'd be almost, Purdue would be favorites, but dude, it'd be like a 3-point, 5-point spread. I could see FAU very easily. Well, actually, it'd be more than that, because Purdue's like a top 10 team analytically, and FAU's like outside of the top 30, but it's March. Things get crazy in March, you don't know, but guys, it's a Cinderella run, Memphis or FAU, whoever you want to choose. It's Russian roulette. We don't know which one it's going to be, but I think it's going to be one of those teams. And then I love Marquette to go to the Final Four. So guys, that is the East region. Tips, predictions, tricks on how I'm playing the East. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.